She walked in humbly, barefoot, asking only to look around. Her clothes were simple but clean, her manner respectful and quiet. She touched nothing, disturbed no one, just wanted to see what dreams looked like on display. The cashier scoffed and pointed toward the door. "This isn't a place for people like you," she said coldly. "You're making other customers uncomfortable. Please leave." She turned to go without argument, her dignity intact despite the humiliation. But then a man stepped forward from behind the counter, someone who had been watching the entire exchange. The store owner removed his expensive leather shoes and placed them gently in front of her. "You walk farther than most of us ever will," he said quietly. And in that moment, the world saw that true beauty isn't found in what covers your feet, but in how far you're willing to walk to help others. Welcome to Heroes Unheard. Before we continue this incredible story, tell us in the comments from which city in the world are you watching this video today? And if you believe stories like this deserve to be heard, please hit that subscribe button to support our channel. We're growing every day, and I sincerely thank you for being part of our community. The Golden Mile Shopping Center stood as a monument to luxury retail in the heart of downtown Los Angeles, its gleaming marble floors and crystal chandeliers reflecting the wealth and status of its clientele. The mall housed some of the world's most prestigious brands, from haute couture fashion houses to exclusive jewelry boutiques, all catering to customers who viewed shopping as both recreation and a display of social position. Each store within the mall maintained strict standards of presentation and customer service, designed to create an atmosphere of exclusivity that justified premium prices. The sales associates were carefully selected for their appearance and demeanor, trained to recognize and cater to wealthy customers while discreetly discouraging those who didn't fit the desired demographic. Among the mall's most successful establishments was Elegance, a high-end shoe store that specialized in designer footwear from European fashion houses. The store's inventory included handcrafted Italian leather shoes, limited edition sneakers that cost more than many people's monthly salaries, and exclusive designs available only to a select clientele. The store's manager, Jennifer Walsh, prided herself on maintaining an environment that attracted celebrities, business executives, and socialites who expected both luxury products and flawless service. Her staff was trained to recognize potential high-value customers and to politely redirect those who appeared unlikely to make significant purchases. On this particular Saturday afternoon, the mall bustled with weekend shoppers, many carrying designer bags and wearing clothes that advertised their economic status. The atmosphere was one of casual affluence, where spending hundreds of dollars on shoes was considered normal and where exclusivity was both expected and deliberately maintained. Rosa Martinez had never intended to enter such an establishment. At 34, she worked as a home healthcare aide, spending her days caring for elderly and disabled clients who needed assistance with daily activities. Her job required long hours of walking between clients' homes, helping with personal care, household tasks, and providing companionship to people who were often isolated and lonely. Rosa's work was both physically demanding and emotionally rewarding, though it paid barely enough to cover her basic expenses and support her two young children. She lived in a modest apartment in East LA, where her neighbors were working families like herself, struggling to make ends meet in an increasingly expensive city. The reason Rosa found herself at the Golden Mile was her daughter Sophia's upcoming quinceañera, a traditional celebration of a girl's 15th birthday that holds deep cultural significance in Mexican-American families. Rosa had been saving for 2 years to give Sophia the celebration she deserved, but every aspect of the event seemed to cost more than anticipated. That morning, Rosa had been shopping for shoes to complete Sophia's quinceañera dress when she realized that her own feet had gone unnoticed in all the planning. Her only pair of decent shoes had finally worn completely through, the soles separating from the uppers after years of extensive use in her demanding job. Rosa had hoped to find something simple and affordable, but the modest stores in her neighborhood had limited selections that didn't match the formal nature of the quinceañera celebration. A well-meaning friend had suggested that she at least look at the options in the downtown area, even if she couldn't afford to purchase anything immediately. The Golden Mile had been an intimidating choice from the moment Rosa stepped off the bus. The valet parking, uniformed security guards, and obviously expensive cars in the parking structure all signaled that this was not a place designed for people in her economic situation. But Rosa had walked the entire mall twice, searching for anything that might be within her budget, when she noticed the shoe store's window display. The shoes were beautiful, elegant designs that would be perfect for a special occasion, but she knew they were far beyond her means even before looking at the price tags. Still, Rosa decided to enter the store, not to purchase anything, but simply to see what was available and perhaps get ideas for what to look for in more affordable stores. She understood that she was not the target customer, but she hoped to browse respectfully without causing any problems. Rosa removed her worn sandals before entering the store, not wanting to track any dirt onto the pristine floors. The contrast between her bare feet and the luxury surrounding her was stark, but she maintained her dignity as she quietly examined the displays. The shoes were indeed beautiful, crafted from the finest materials with attention to detail that justified their premium prices. Rosa admired the workmanship while mentally calculating how many hours she would need to work to afford even the least expensive pair. She was careful not to touch anything, understanding that her presence was already conspicuous in the upscale environment. Other customers in the store wore designer clothes and carried themselves with the confidence that comes from financial security, making Rosa's simple attire and obvious discomfort even more noticeable. Jennifer Walsh had been observing Rosa since she entered the store, and her expression reflected growing irritation with what she perceived as an inappropriate presence. The manager approached Rosa with a professional smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Ma'am," Jennifer said in a tone that was polite but unmistakably condescending. "Are you looking for something specific today?" Rosa nodded respectfully. "I was just looking, thank you. The shoes are very beautiful." Jennifer's smile became more strained. "I appreciate your interest, but these are very expensive items. Perhaps you would be more comfortable shopping elsewhere." The suggestion was delivered diplomatically, but its meaning was clear. Rosa was being told that she didn't belong in the store and should leave. "I understand," Rosa replied quietly. "I wasn't planning to buy anything today. I just wanted to see what was available." Jennifer's patience was clearly wearing thin. "Ma'am, this isn't a museum. We're here to serve customers who are serious about making purchases. Your presence is making other customers uncomfortable." Rosa looked around the store and noticed that several other customers had indeed been glancing in her direction with expressions ranging from curiosity to disdain. Her bare feet and simple clothes marked her as someone who clearly didn't fit the store's typical clientele. "I'm sorry," Rosa said, maintaining her composure despite the growing humiliation. "I'll leave now." As Rosa turned toward the exit, Jennifer made one final comment that was intended to be heard by the other customers. "Next time, perhaps you should consider shopping at stores that are more appropriate for your budget." The comment drew approving nods from some customers who felt that the store's exclusivity was being properly maintained. Rosa felt her face burning with shame, but she continued walking toward the door without responding to the insult. But the exchange had been observed by someone whose perspective on the situation was very different from Jennifer's. David Chun, the owner of Elegance, had been in the store's back office when he heard the commotion. Curious about what was happening, he had emerged to observe the interaction between his manager and Rosa. David had built his business from nothing, starting as an immigrant who worked in shoe factories before eventually saving enough money to open his own small store. Over 20 years, he had expanded to multiple locations and had achieved considerable success, but he had never forgotten his own experiences with discrimination and exclusion. Watching Rosa being humiliated in his store triggered memories of his own encounters with prejudice when he had been judged based on his appearance, accent, and economic status. He remembered the pain of being treated as less worthy of respect simply because he didn't fit other people's expectations. As Rosa reached the store entrance, David stepped forward and spoke in a voice that carried throughout the store. "Excuse me, ma'am. Please wait a moment." Rosa turned, uncertain whether she was about to face additional humiliation or whether the situation might somehow improve. David walked directly to her, ignoring the confused looks from customers and staff who couldn't understand why the store owner was personally addressing someone who had just been asked to leave. "I'm David Chun, the owner of this store," he said, extending his hand in greeting. "I apologize for how you've been treated here today." Rosa shook his hand tentatively, unsure how to respond to this unexpected kindness. David then did something that shocked everyone present. He sat down on a nearby bench and began removing his expensive leather shoes, handcrafted Italian footwear that cost more than Rosa earned in a month. "These are yours," David said, standing and offering the shoes to Rosa. "You've walked farther today than most of our customers walk in a year, and you've done it with more dignity than many people show when they have every advantage." The store fell silent as customers and staff tried to process what they were witnessing. The owner of an upscale shoe store was giving his own shoes to someone who had just been asked to leave. Rosa looked at the shoes in amazement, but shook her head. "Sir, I cannot accept these. They're too expensive, and I haven't done anything to deserve such kindness." David smiled warmly. "You've shown grace under pressure and maintained your dignity when others tried to take it away. That's worth more than any pair of shoes." He gestured toward a chair. "Please, try them on. I insist." As Rosa reluctantly tried on the shoes, David turned to address the other customers and staff who were watching in stunned silence. "Ladies and gentlemen," David said, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had earned his success through hard work rather than inheritance. "I want to share something with you about what I just witnessed." He gestured toward Rosa, who was still sitting in disbelief as the expensive shoes fit her feet perfectly. "This woman came into our store asking for nothing except the opportunity to look at beautiful things. She was respectful, polite, and caused no problems. Yet she was made to feel unwelcome because her appearance didn't match our assumptions about who belongs in a luxury store." David's voice grew stronger as he continued. "I've built this business on the principle that beautiful things should be appreciated by everyone, regardless of their economic circumstances. We sell shoes, but what we really offer is the confidence and joy that comes from wearing something special." He turned back to Rosa. "Ma'am, would you mind sharing with us why you were shopping for shoes today?" Rosa looked uncertain, but David's genuine kindness encouraged her to speak. "My daughter is having her quinceañera next month. I've been saving for 2 years to give her a beautiful celebration, but I realized I didn't have appropriate shoes to wear to the ceremony." The mention of a quinceañera resonated with several Latino customers in the store who understood the cultural significance and financial sacrifice that such celebrations represented for working families. "A quinceañera is one of the most important celebrations in our culture," Rosa continued. "I wanted to look respectable for my daughter's special day, but I couldn't afford shoes like these. I was just looking to get ideas for what to search for in stores I could actually afford." David nodded with understanding. "And instead of being welcomed and helped, you were made to feel like you didn't deserve to even look at beautiful things." He turned to Jennifer, his expression making clear his disappointment with her handling of the situation. "Jennifer, this woman represents exactly the kind of customer we should be honored to serve. She's someone who understands the value of special occasions and who would appreciate quality craftsmanship even if she can't afford it today." Jennifer looked uncomfortable as she realized that her attempt to maintain exclusivity had backfired dramatically. "Sir, I was just trying to ensure that our other customers," David interrupted, "can learn something important from this woman about grace, dignity, and the true meaning of respect." David returned his attention to Rosa, who was still adjusting to the feel of the expensive shoes. "Ma'am, these shoes are yours to keep, but I'd like to offer something more." He walked to the store's display case and selected a second pair of shoes, elegant heels that would be perfect for a formal celebration. "These are for your daughter's quinceañera. No mother should have to choose between her child's happiness and her own dignity." Rosa's eyes filled with tears as she realized the magnitude of David's generosity. "Sir, this is too much. I cannot accept such expensive gifts." David shook his head. "You're not accepting charity. You're accepting recognition for the grace you've shown today and an investment in celebrating your daughter's important milestone." He gestured toward the other customers, many of whom were now looking ashamed of their earlier reactions to Rosa's presence. "Everyone here has learned something today about judging others based on appearance rather than character." One customer, Mrs. Patricia Williams, approached Rosa with obvious embarrassment. "Ma'am, I owe you an apology. I was one of the people who thought you didn't belong here. I was wrong, and I'm sorry for my prejudice." Other customers began approaching Rosa with similar apologies, creating an atmosphere of reflection and reconciliation that transformed the store's energy completely. David used the moment to share more of his own story with the gathered customers. 20 years ago, I was working in a shoe factory dreaming of someday owning my own store. People looked at me and saw an immigrant with poor English and work clothes, not someone with business potential. He gestured around the successful store. Every person who believed in me despite my appearance helped make this possible. Every person who saw my potential rather than my limitations contributed to my success. David turned back to Rosa. Today, you've reminded all of us that dignity isn't something you buy. It's something you carry within yourself. You walked into this store with more class than many people who spend thousands of dollars here. The transformation in the store's atmosphere was remarkable. What had begun as an incident of discrimination had become a lesson in humanity and respect that would stay with everyone present. As Rosa prepared to leave, now wearing the beautiful shoes that David had given her, she turned to address the store's customers and staff. "Thank you for this kindness," she said, her voice strong despite her emotion. "But I want you to know that my dignity was never dependent on your acceptance. I know my worth as a person, regardless of what I can afford to buy." Her words carried a power that silenced any remaining doubts about her character or worthiness of respect. David walked Rosa to the store entrance, where they exchanged contact information so he could arrange for the quinceañera shoes to be properly fitted for her daughter. "Ma'am," David said as they parted, "you've given me something more valuable than any purchase today. You've reminded me why I started this business and what success really means." Rosa smiled, her confidence restored and her faith in human kindness reaffirmed. "Thank you for seeing me as a person worthy of respect. That means more than the shoes." As Rosa left the store, her new shoes clicking confidently on the marble floors of the mall, she carried herself with renewed dignity. Other shoppers noticed her transformation, seeing someone who belonged wherever she chose to walk. The story of what happened at Elegance spread quickly through social media and local news outlets, generating conversations about discrimination, dignity, and the true meaning of customer service in the luxury retail industry. David used the publicity to implement new training programs for his staff, emphasizing that respect and kindness were more important than sales targets or customer demographics. He established a scholarship fund for quinceañeras and other cultural celebrations, helping families celebrate important milestones regardless of their economic circumstances. Jennifer Walsh, the manager who had discriminated against Rosa, underwent extensive diversity training and eventually became an advocate for inclusive customer service practices. Her encounter with Rosa had taught her that exclusivity based on prejudice was not only morally wrong, but also bad for business. Rosa's daughter Sophia had a beautiful quinceañera celebration, made even more special by the story of how her mother's dignity had inspired kindness from unexpected sources. The shoes that David had given them became family treasures, passed down as symbols of the importance of treating all people with respect. Years later, when Rosa's children had grown and found success in their own careers, they would tell the story of the day their mother taught an entire store about the difference between having class and simply having money. And David Chun continued to build his business on the principle that true luxury comes not from excluding others, but from creating experiences where everyone feels valued and respected. The shoes he had given away that day represented the best investment he had ever made, an investment in human dignity that paid dividends in ways that no financial return could measure. This story was brought to you by Heroes Unheard. Before we leave you today, here's our question. Have you ever known someone who never asked for recognition but deserved more than anyone else? Tell us in the comments what they meant to you and how you remember them. And if you think stories like this need to be heard, hit that subscribe button to support the channel. We'll see you in the next one.